What is a holon? Well, when we look at reality and we ask ourselves, what is reality composed of? Objects, things, relationships, interactions, what? Atoms, right? So we look at these things, we look at different objects in the world, we ask ourselves, what are sort of the fundamental categories of which nature is made and how it works? And mankind, all the way back to the times of the ancient Greek philosophers like Aristotle and so forth, they have been trying to categorize and classify nature for a long time. And this has been a thorny philosophical issue for mankind. Like, what are the right categories? It's not so obvious what the right categories of thing are. Like, what is the most fundamental thing in the universe? Is it the universe itself? Is it the atoms that make up the universe? Is it something within the atoms? Is it energy? Is it numbers? Is it mathematics? What is it? And so there's been a lot of philosophical debate on this issue. But relatively recently, I mean, this idea by Arthur Koestler has really it's only like, 50, 70 years old. It's not a very old idea. It's relatively new. So he sort of came up with the idea, and then Ken Wilber took that idea of holons and really ran with it. And they together basically came up with this notion that really the fundamental building block of reality is holons. So what is a holon? A holon is both a part and a whole simultaneously. So the best example would be the cells in your body. The cells in the human body or in any animal body, they're very tiny things, but they're still relatively large compared to atoms. So a cell is both a part and a whole. It's a holon. So it's a part because it's a part of your whole body, which your body would be a whole. And it's also a whole in itself. A cell is a whole in itself because if you studied a cell in biology class, you looked at those diagrams, a cell is a very complicated thing. It's almost like a city. It's quite amazing and fascinating. You've studied all the organelles within cells. If you took biology class, the mitochondria, the ribosomes, the nucleus, the envelopes, and the membranes, and all that stuff that I can hardly remember nowadays. So there are all those parts, and they're all moving. There's a bunch of molecules coming in and out. There's osmosis and various proton pumps and weird stuff going on in their DNA and replication of DNA, and every cell is a little bit different. They're not all the same. Like the cells in your face are going to be different than the cells in your heart, different than the cells in your brain, and so on. So these cells are holons. So what's interesting is that usually we think of things being just parts or just wholes, but not both simultaneously. So that's the unique thing about holons, is that they're both simultaneously. It's a sort of a superposition, which is kind of cool and nifty as a concept. It's both simultaneously. It's a sort of a relativistic concept. And all of reality, it turns out, is a nested hierarchy of these holons. So my body sitting here before you, speaking to you, you usually would think this is a whole, like this is an individual object called Leo or a human. It's sitting here. You would think, well, that's a whole, and that's it. That's where it ends. But that's not where it ends. Because yes, my body is a whole, but it's also a part of a larger thing. For example, the entire Earth. What is the Earth? Usually when we say the Earth, we think of just the rocky part of the Earth. The Earth that was there before there were humans or animals and plant life. But that's not really what the Earth is. The Earth, like if you go off, stand on the moon and look down at the Earth from outer space, you're going to see the entire planet, including all the humans on it, all the vegetation, all the oceans, all the rocks. And I mean, if you zoomed in, if you had high power enough telescope, you would actually be able to resolve the people and stuff. So really, when you're looking at the Earth from outer space, in a sense, you're seeing the people. It's just the people are so small that you don't see them because they're just like microscopic little, below the threshold of the resolution of your vision. But the people are there. You're looking at them. So what we call the Earth is not something that's separate from humans. Humans make up the Earth. And so as I'm sitting here before you, I am literally a part of a larger whole called the Earth, and so are you, if you're on the Earth listening to me. If you're some alien in outer space, well then, come check out Earth. It's a cool place, but also full of fools. So yeah, so this is, so we see this all throughout nature. That's the key insight of Arthur Koestler and Ken Wilber, is that when you really start to look at all the different parts of nature, whether you're zooming in or you're zooming all the way out, you're seeing holons everywhere. And the Earth itself is, you might think, well, the Earth is a whole. It's not a part, but it is a part. The Earth is a part of the solar system. And you might say, well, the solar system then is a whole. Well, yes, the solar system is a whole, but it's also a part because it's part of the Milky Way galaxy. And so you see, it goes up and down in this fashion, all the way up and all the way down. So we could say that every object in reality is actually not a part and not a whole, but a holon, both simultaneously, depending on which perspective you take. And that's what's so powerful about this concept, is that it's a sort of a perspectival relativistic concept.